for fall protection. So we can't just grab our hoisting strap and say, okay, great, here's my anchor point. They have to be considered an anchor strap, which this is. These are great because you don't have to screw anything in. You don't have to set anything up. You just simply choke it over top of something, right? Something that's capable of withstanding a 5,000-pound force, dunnage, a lot of times on a roof, or a steel beam or something, an I-beam over top that you can connect to, something like that. And this will allow you, and this will be your anchor point for that fall protection. This is a great tool because, again, it doesn't take a lot of setup. You can move it down where you need to go, or if you need to relocate it all together, you just quickly remove it and move on and then reinstall it where you need to. So these are really, really great tools. Anchor straps are really, really great tools for that. A couple things with anchor straps, though. If you do go over top of an I-beam, right, I-beams sometimes have sharp edges, right? So this nylon could rub and start to fray or break or whatever over top of that I-beam over time, especially if you're sliding it back and forth, et cetera, et cetera. So then that starts to get damaged over time, right? The other difficulty with this one in particular is it's very long, right? So if we go over top of an I-beam, great, it's about that much. We've just added, what, 3 feet to our fall distance now? So now we talked about the 18 feet that you need to use this. Now we've just increased it by 3 feet because of the length of our anchor strap at this point. So really, really important to take into consideration how much distance you have below you and what exact fall protection methods you're using, because again, you don't want to contact the lower level. That's the goal of fall protection, right? Because the contact on the lower level is what's really going to hurt you over a course of time. Now, if you fall, and if you are allowed to fall, and if the fall protection system that you're using allows you to fall, right? So that's like this style anchor, lanyard will allow you to fall. You will fall over the edge or off of something if you're using something, a ladder or off of something that you're standing on top of. It will allow you to fall. You're going to fall, and hopefully, again, if you've calculated your fall distance properly, you're not contact the lower level. However, you guys can imagine that that's gonna be pretty painful. That's gonna hurt pretty bad, right? If you fall and your body is caught by your harness, it's not gonna feel good, right? It's not gonna feel good. There's a couple things you have to take into consideration. Number one, swing radius, right? So if I have my anchor point and I'm wearing a retractable lanyard and I go too far to the left, my anchor point's all the way behind me and I'm all the way over here, and I fall this way, my whole body's going to swing around and potentially contact something. Same thing if we're falling, if we're too far out, right? If we're too far out and we fall forward, we're going to swing back and possibly contact the face of the building that way. So again, a much lesser of a potential injury than falling and contacting lower level with all your body weight all at once. There's still the potential that you're injured if you are involved in a fall while wearing a harness. That's why it's really important to wear the harness properly. Number one, make sure our anchor point's proper. Number two, wear our harness properly, right? I see a lot of guys, they'll put the harness on, maybe they forget they don't put the leg straps in, right? Because it doesn't feel good, it's not comfortable, they're not designed for comfort, they're designed to save your life, right? So these leg straps, they have to be on and they have to be tight, right? They're not comfortable, that's not what they're designed for, but they have to be tight. You guys can imagine if I had my leg straps all the way down here, and okay, it looks good, right? Somebody's walking by, okay, great, he's wearing a harness, he looks great, whatever. You guys are involved in a fall, that harness is going to go really quick, really fast, and it's not going to feel good. I have seen a lot of injuries and a lot of really nasty pictures of people that have had severe trauma in their groin area when they're not wearing a harness properly because this is more comfortable or this is more cool to wear it this way, right? So always kind of think if you're going to wear fall protection, wear it the right way. OSHA says very specifically that there is no safe distance from an unprotected edge. No safe. So if I'm on a warehouse building, a 1 million square foot warehouse, right? And I got an edge of a roof that's 300 feet away. I'm over here. I'm never going to go over there. OSHA says you're exposed. OSHA says you're exposed, right? So you kind of got to take common sense out of it a little bit because you're like, well, how am I going to fall all the way over there? That's what OSHA said. OSHA says there's no safe distance from an unprotected edge. The height of a parapet wall, in order to be considered a protected edge, is 39 inches. That's the minimum height of a parapet wall to be considered a protected edge. 39 inches. Where do we get 39 inches from? A normal standard guardrail has to be 42 inches from the ground, right? Some of you guys might be aware of that. 42 inches from the floor is where your guardrail needs to be, plus or minus 3 inches. So they give you a little bit of leeway as far as how high or low in that range of 42 inches you need to be. So the minimum height is 39 inches. That's the minimum height of any protected edge on a roof, right? So if you have a parapet wall lower than 39 inches, and you are on a roof and you can see and you're exposed to that distance, right, then OSHA's going to say you're exposed to a fall hazard. So what do we do? How do we protect ourselves? A warning flag system can be implemented. Roofers have some special rules. They're allowed to set their warning flags up at 6 feet from the edge, right? They're allowed to work between the flags and the edge without fall protection as long as they have a safety monitor, right? That's allowed. Those are special rules that roofers are permitted to use, right? Every other contractor besides a roofer can use a warning flag system. It has to be set 15 feet from the unprotected edge, and you have to go all the way around. If you're within that warning flag system, then you're good. You can walk freely and do your work and do your tasks, and everything's all great. I don't have to tie off, right? If I have to work underneath of the flags, between the flags and the edge of the roof, you must tie off. There's no option, right? Not every contractor can use, or every trade can use a safety monitor. Only roofers are allowed to use that. So very important, if you're on a roof, you're close to an unprotected edge, or even if you're far from an unprotected edge and there's no warning flag, you can't simply say, well, I'm 15 feet away, I'm okay. There has to be a warning flag system there, and that's how you comply with that OSHA regulation at that point.
Recommend it for, because you said the ratcheting lever is kind of new, right? That's kind of new technology?
Not specifically new. What's new about it is the difference between Type 1 and Type 2. So yo-yos have been around for a while, but they are, I mean, most of the industry is heading towards them because, again, it may prevent you from falling altogether. So you start to kind of lose your balance, and it catches you really quick without you ever falling.
Well, the main question was, like, lanyards, you said you got to be 18 feet. So what about between that 6 to 18 foot distance?
What do you use?
Like 10 foot.
Right. This would be perfect. This would be perfect. Yeah. But knowing where you're tying off to. So really, if it doesn't have a deceleration pack, then that anchor point's got to be above your head, right? Because you don't want it to, you want it to grab you as soon as you start to fall. If it has to be down at your feet, that's when you need to have this deceleration pack, because most likely you'll still fall, but it's just supposed to catch you, right? Quickly, right? Versus this, where it's going to allow you to fall. You're going to be like a bungee jumper, thrill seeker, jumping over, flying over the edge, and hoping that your harness and your anchors are proper, and that everything's and you've calculated your fall properly. So there's a lot that goes into it, for sure. All right.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time. They kind of come down, and you can put your foot in here and relieve the pressure on your thighs.
Attached to the harness?
Yeah, it attaches right to the harness. Or they make ones with these butt straps, so you can kind of lean into it a little bit, take your pressure off that way. So they're doing some, like, for people that are really always working on leading edges, that potential is greater than other trades. Then it's pretty serious. Swing scaffolds and stuff like that. Like, yeah, you got to have a way to, We did a project for Allied, and they had this building. It was like 16 stories high, and they're on the swing scaffold. They're at the top. I said, "What's your rescue plan? Like, what are you going to do if this thing fails?" And I'll call 911.
Where do I fall asleep?
I said, "Well, the ladder's not going to reach you up there, dude." I said, "They're going to have to set something up on the roof to rappel down and get you." I said, "You're going to be hanging for who knows how long." I said, "You guys are going to do a little bit of that." Yeah, it was a little crazy. Anyway, cool. All right, guys. I think that's pretty much it for me, right?
So.